Welcome to the Empath School Podcast. I'm Jack, and together with my wife, Tiff, we are all about you, the empath. We are the creators of the #1 energy management system for you. We help you reclaim your power and thrive in your life and at work. Let's do this. Hi there, welcome to episode 231, Lessons in Letting Go. I'm Jack, and Tiff is right here next to me. Say hello, Tiff.
Hi.
We're so happy to be back recording a podcast episode with you today. And the title is extremely apropos for how our holiday season of 2024 just went.
You mean the implosion?
there was a lot going down in this holiday season, and it culminated with us burying and having the funeral for Tiff's mother on, January 4th, 2025.
She passed on the 28th of December.
Yes, she did, and it was literally a 3-week window from the time we had some idea she would be passing to burying her. Mm-hmm. It went that fast. It was literally 2 weeks of time, and then we had a week to scramble around and put things together, plan a funeral, take care of a million details, and at the same time, feel deep, deep grief.
Did you say putting together Christmas and having our family home
Didn't
for Christmas?
even mention putting together Christmas.
Well, yeah,
and having our family all home and having dinner and celebrating the holiday with our amazing humans that we call our children. It was a really beautiful holiday. Mm-hmm. It was. We have had such a wonderful time, and it feels like we've lived the entire year in 2 weeks.
I agree. It really does.
Mm-hmm. So here we are. So, Tiff, thank you for being so willing to record the podcast episode today. I'm the one that's moving the schedule forward. So
in other words, he's saying I have to do what he says because he is the one that tells me, and he's happy that I'm willing to do it since my mom's funeral was 5 days ago.
I know, right?
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that is everything that I was saying. You really must be psychic or something.
Hey, that picture looks nice over there.
Oh, I know. I put a new framed picture in our office.
Nice.
Of myself and Tiff, and it was taken on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Doesn't New Year's Eve parties feel like a year ago?
Yeah, it really does.
And today is the 9th, so it was 8 days ago.
Oh my gosh. Are you serious?
No kidding. Just a little tiny bit over a week.
Wow, time really has changed a lot, It just really has.
I really agree with that. And the reason it feels so apparent to me is when I look up at my clock on the wall, I literally have to talk myself through which direction the big hand goes. So, because time feels so absolutely confusing to my brain.
Yeah, it's weird. And it has to do with the big grand shift that we're in right now into 5D.
Are we in one?
Wow.
Wow is right.
Yeah, there's I think this podcast today will be great because we have been letting go so deeply over the last month. And it's amazing what happens when you do. So
let's do this. Let's just start right up at the top with the 2 words, letting go. So Tiff, what does letting go, right where you're standing today? So make it applicable to what letting go means for you, about you, to you today.
Well, when you said that, I first thought of the 2 words together, letting, which is like allowing, and then the word go, which means to me today, just allowing the flow to move things where it needs to be. And that's really what I've had to do the last month. I'm a very controlling person when it comes to my own life experience. I want to know what's going to happen, when and why and how. And when I can't do that, I feel a sense of anxiety sometimes. Over the years, I've gotten better, but I have to say this last month has been really extreme for having to let go because there were so many details. And if anybody knows me, from October 1st, actually the 20th of September, when it's the first day of fall, until the 1st of January is kind of my time to allow myself to really enjoy the holiday season.
Like to nest.
Yes.
To kind of snuggle down in your down-filled nest and just enjoy the comfort.
And last year was not that great. And so this year I was determined to have it be exactly what I wanted it to be. And boy, did that not happen. But what did happen was what was meant to happen to get us all to our best and highest good, including my mother. And I had to let go. There were so many freaking details. And, it's really important for me to create, for me, this is how I feel. It's important for me to be able to create continuity and certainty within my family, with my children and grandchildren, so they always know what to count on for specific things, so they have that anchor in their life.
Oh, God.
And now I understand
Me too.
how important that is.
It's huge.
So I was like, Mom can't get sick right now. I can't take care of her every day. I have to get ready for Christmas because all the kids are going to be home. And, they had just been home for Thanksgiving, and this is like my time. And that wasn't the way it played. It didn't go that way. So I had to let go. And what was amazing to me is how flawlessly everything fell into place.
Absolutely.
Until even the funeral.
All of it.
But I was just like, how am I going to get this done? And I can't come, and I can't do this, and I can't do that. And I just had to let go. I just had to do it and just say,
So would you say that your letting go has been an ongoing process through it all?
Still.
Or do you feel like now you're at a heightened level of letting go?
Well, I definitely am at a heightened level, but I'm still, I still have a lot to do. I'm getting Mom's house cleaned out, getting some things sold. She rented for 37 years, so I have like 20 days to clear out 37 years. And
I would add that
I'm working, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, letting go.
Mm-hmm.
So, letting go of Mom's physical body.
Oh my God. That's another aspect of this whole thing.
One of the biggest parts of letting go that I feel right now. And we're going to be emotional on this podcast because we have really deep emotions.
I really don't want to be.
I know, me neither.
I really don't want to be emotional, but it probably will happen.
And here's the deal. When a loved one of our beloveds, exits mortality, they exit their human body, and they are now freely their consciousness, their unique brand of consciousness, right? Because we're all an individualized expression of the divine. And we, the rest of us here in our human bodies running around this planet, we feel the absence, the physical absence. And for me, that's what letting go, I would say the main letting go I feel right now, outside of just like what you were saying, Tiff, to begin with, we have our best laid plans, and then we have what happens, and it's within that dynamic when I can let go of the outcome in the day-to-day of what I think it should be, and in the letting go for me, the only way I can really do that is if I swap it over to a high level of trust.
Absolutely.
In the unseen world, for me, the trust goes to my higher self. It goes to the unseen world. And when I say my higher self, I could also say my true self. I could say my God self. This is the part that I am, the inextricably unique being that I was created as. And I believe I have a map. I believe I have this life, that I have an overview of where I'm going, of the experiences I want to experience, so I can grow and expand outside of my very small-minded self. my ego and my body.
For sure.
And expand into my higher self, which is the highest level of joyful trust. And it's found in surrender. It's found in releasing the outcomes to move themselves where they're going.
Yeah, as I'm listening to you, I'm just thinking of how big this letting go thing has been the last month. Like, really. Like, so extreme. And letting go of my mom's physical self. Even though, as a psychic medium, 2 days after she passed, she came through and had some incredible things to tell me. And I feel her with me all the time. But there's this human component that I have to let go of. And I realized that part of the grief that I've had is that when she passed, part of me and my identity, my purpose was cut off. Like, she was part of my identity. I was Chris's daughter, and I was this and I was that associated with her. And then also the purpose that I felt to be a certain way so that I knew that she would be happy, or to show up for her and make sure that she was very comfortable. And she was always on my mind because I was the caretaker at the end of her life.
Yep.
So when she passes, that is no longer relevant. And so I felt this weird, lost, forlorn, ungrounded, untethered feeling that was absolutely horrific. And I was like, what is this? It's not like I can't feel her. I am so relieved that she is free of pain and she can see all that is and the truth of everything. And this is such a glorious time. Why do I feel like a part of me just died? And it's because of my association to her. My identity, part of my identity was her. And part of my purpose of my life was in her. And it changed overnight, like this, just like a snap. And so then I just feel like, well, who the hell am I? And I had to let go of my identity and part of my purpose. So that was another component of letting go. It was so intense.
Well, as we've navigated this and you shared what it feels like to be untethered and unmoored, and your relationship with your mom was very layered. It was very complex.
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't like it was the last 3 years. It was very, very different throughout your life. And it doesn't matter what kind, and it's been good, bad, ugly, and amazing.
Yes.
Really,
it's been everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
And how amazing it's been for me to witness you walking through this, navigating this. And one of the things I see with my eyes, being your partner, is your willingness to feel your feelings. And it's been a lot of tears.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of tears, a lot of grieving, strong emotion coming out of the blue. And you're so powerful in your willingness to just be there. And also to hear you share the fear of, am I ever going to be okay?
Yeah, there is just something when the person that births you, that you come from their cells and their blood and their bones. It's a terrible fate.
Yeah, it is.
And I refuse to try and keep a stiff upper lip with this. I don't like to cry on podcasts. I don't like to cry in front of my students or my clients, but this is fucking life. And when you lose your mother, there is a huge physical loss, that electromagnetic connection that you had from body to body. And knowing that I came from her, it's just the craziest experience. I don't think I've ever felt grief like this ever.
And here you are, right, without your anchor. And that's one of the things you shared with me that made so much sense. After having lost my dad, lost my mom, and I didn't have this level of understanding of the loss of you're losing, when you lose your mother, your parents, when you lose that, you're losing that anchor point.
Yeah.
Even if you're not in a close relationship with the parent,
Yes.
you're still losing your place when they pass. You're losing what you have found yourself in relation to, whether you're talking to them or not talking to them.
Yeah, it helped me understand my dad's death better. That was 8 months ago.
Right.
That I'd never met my dad.
And yet he lived just a few miles away.
For 15 years.
Yeah.
And when I saw on Facebook that he had died, I was overcome with grief and started to sob. I had to take the day off, and it shocked me. Because even though there was no connection, part of who he was is part of me. And I felt the connection of him here on this earth. And when he was gone, I could literally feel it.
Yep.
And it's not the grieving process I'm having with my mother, but I had grief.
Yep.
And I did not understand that. And now that I've lost my mom, I'm like, oh my gosh, of course. Of course, there's this thing that happens with parents. And no one, I never even heard anyone talk about this.
No,
ever.
I didn't ever understand this conceptually until you've been processing and talking out loud about your experience. And then I learned something so powerful, and it's that our parents are anchors for us.
Yes, and I always felt strongly about you and me and our family, and always doing things, not constantly doing the same things over and over forever and ever, but those key marker points of like Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve, and making sure to remember birthdays, and to have family dinners here and there, and decorate cookies for Halloween. Those things are things that are anchors of certainty and a grounding point for our family as a unit. So now I get it.
And now each of our kids know where they are because we're holding anchor points for them. And when you release one of those anchor points, you have to find yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to find that anchor within yourself.
Yes.
And it's meant to be.
It is.
This is part of our experience here as human beings on this planet. And yet it's so damn hard and very scary and feels unsettling at the highest level.
And my mother, when my grandmother died, I didn't feel the loss of my grandmother till now, really. And I was so close to my grandmother, much more than my mother, because my mother stepped into the matriarchal position of my grandmother. And now that my mother's gone, it's my turn to step into those shoes. And today I really had the question, I'm like, gosh, do I have what it takes to do this? Can I do this in the middle of the world falling apart so that it can come into its new form? Do I have what it takes to show up in this unconditionally loving matriarchal place? Can I do this? And I can, but I have to let go of the idea of what I think it's supposed to be and allow it to unfold naturally, and for my mom to show me the way, because man, things are different these days. Things are different everywhere. We're looking. And this is a letting go time. This is a letting go time for all of us.
Of everything the way we've known it.
I mean, even letting go of the way we understood the world to work. It's no longer doing that.
And the way as this podcast, Lessons in Letting Go. I know that for me, this letting go process with Mom, one of the amazing things about letting go of her physical form, letting go of the certainty of this woman, Chris Clayton, Tiff's mom, that that woman showed me such love. And I would almost say she coddled me.
She did.
I fucking loved it.
She totally did.
I loved it.
I don't coddle you.
No, she doesn't, nor should you. And she loved me. She would feed me candy. She would make sure I got the rest of her fries when she didn't want them. She was like, "Oh, Jack, are you tired? Why don't you lay down on the couch and just rest? Just rest, Jack." And I loved every second of it. And so what do I do now? That was such a beautiful, sweet place of love. And now I have an opportunity. Am I going to lay myself down when I'm tired? right? It's
Yeah,
like lesson
totally.
learned. And what I learned from her kind of love was be good to yourself because it feels good. And if it feels good, do it. And that was a gift. That was such a gift that I receive and am going to live because of her. And that's another thing that was so surprising to me. And like the correlation came so clear in my mind because my dad died when I was 11. My mom died, was it 2 or 3 years ago?
2 years
ago. 2 years ago.
Yep.
My sisters are gone, dead.
My brother died 3 years ago of COVID.
Tiff's brother died. I lost my grandmother, my closest grandmother, when I was 6. And so I've been losing, we've all, and Tiff has had all of hers and her brother and then her dad and now her mom. And what I feel so sure of is how unique everyone is. Because I know what my own dead mother feels like. I know what her energy feels like when she's coming through and supporting me, or I'm feeling her love, or I'm feeling her presence. I know what my dad feels like because I have felt him since I met Tiff. Before that, I believed he was busy, so I didn't feel him. But he's always been there. And now Chris, her love is so big. And the thing that I know for sure is one of her most powerful parts of her creation is about surrender. It's about letting go. It's about having faith. Yep. It's about trusting. It's about not trying to force the outcome to things. And for her, it was trusting God to deliver. For me, it's trusting through my higher self and that God part that I am.
Yes.
And trusting in her presence here, helping. And the things that she has done to make this as seamless as it can be since she passed. Beautiful things.
She taught me something when I was little. I'd probably say I was about 7. And she said this, and I believed her because it was true, and I was open enough to believe, to know what she was saying, to feel it, and know that it was accurate. And it has been the guiding force of my entire life as long as I've been here. And she said, no matter what happens, you have all truth inside of you. It's already there. So you just have to listen. And I knew that was true when she taught me, and I've lived by that my entire life. Even when it led me away from what she wanted me to do. When it led me away from the belief system that she believed in, I still trusted it, and I got that from her. And now that she's on the other side, she sees such a bigger picture than she could ever see in this myopic life that we all live.
Yeah.
And I feel nothing but her essence, but it's magnified by 1,000,000-fold in who she was here. And I am so joyful about that. And I just thought, I bet she is just so happy. So happy now. And I'm happy for her. And at the very same time, which is such a paradox, I am experiencing the deepest grief I have ever felt in my life here, ever. And I don't know how long that's going to go on. I feel like I'm doing better. And then it hits me again.
Just you get blindsided.
Yeah, and I'm not going to pretend, and I'm not going to try and not cry, and I'm not going to say, it'll be fine. I shouldn't be feeling this way. Let's just focus on the happy things. I'm not doing that. Even though so many people, can I say, have been like, just focus on the things you loved about her.
That's
and be grateful that you had a mom that you loved.
Or the worst is, at least you blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I just am like, I'm not talking to you.
Never lands very well.
I'm like, no, I'm going to feel my feelings. And the reason you're trying to get me not to feel my feelings is because you don't want to feel your feelings in relation to how I'm feeling my feelings.
So true.
So we just don't talk. Yeah, you know what I mean?
So true.
I'm willing to talk to people that are willing to see all of me, not just the pretty parts that are so comfy.
Yeah, right.
This has changed me. This has changed my life.
No way around it.
It's deepened me, and it's also, I've gotten a little more sassy, I think. A little more boundaries. I have a lot more clarity in certain areas of my life, and I'm more overwhelmed in certain ways as well. Mm-hmm. So it's just, I really do have to just let go and visualize myself floating in a pristine lake, being carried to all the things that I know and desire, the things that I truly want, and know that I will get there with the help of universal energy, using the law of attraction, having help from angels and ancestors, my mother, Jesus, whatever, and let go, because I'm kind of falling apart.
Yeah, right. Rightfully so. So I want to share a little experience I had this morning. I walked into my office. I'm a little under the weather. And I walk into my office feeling a little overwhelmed with the things that I see sitting on my desk, all the mail to go through, the emails to respond to, the business things I've got to do, all the schedules I've got to adjust and change, and all the everything.
Oh, just hearing about it gives me anxiety.
A lot. There are a lot of
Ugh.
things. So I walk in, and as walking through my office, I always say hello to my plant. Her name's Stella. You should have seen her over the holiday when we were gone. She lost 2 of her leaves because she was so devastated.
Yeah, she's in love with Jack.
She's so sweet. Look at her.
I know.
Anyway, so I say hello to Stella. I walk in. I put my computer on my desk. I turn on my lamps. I have 5 lamps in my office because I'm a lamp fanatic.
He's light sensitive.
I have to have the lighting cannot be overhead. It has to be not overhead. And so I walk in. I'm turning on my lamps. And I got the clearest feeling of Tiff's mom.
You did?
So clear. And I could feel her. And when it came up for me, I have learned that the best thing I can do is pause and be with it. So I sat down in the wooden chair over there in the corner, and I could feel her presence on the couch. And we had a little conversation. And I was just talking out loud about how much I loved her and about my overwhelm and where I really could use her help. And I just so clearly heard her, felt her say, pieces, parts. You do not have to rush. Take your time. And so, Tiff, I would love to have you share the pieces, parts. That's another beautiful bit of wisdom that your mom gave us, and now we're giving it to you, our listener. Would you just share how pieces, parts started?
Well, being a highly sensitive child and also having ADHD, I was an extremely...
And dyslexia.
Yes, extremely overwhelmed person. So when I was in first grade, they had those sheets of paper that had 100...
The timed drills.
Yes,
the
math drills. And there were 100 things. And I would watch my friends get them done in 5 minutes. I was like, wow, it would take me 2 hours of crying and being so overwhelmed looking at all of those numbers. It just was enough to kill me. So my mom said, we're going to do something. So she set me down at the table and she got a piece of construction paper and cut out a tiny little square that was as big as just one problem. And she put it on the paper and she said, this is all you have to do. We're going to do everything pieces, parts. And every time, and so pretty soon I was the fastest one in the class because I learned how to just look at one thing at a time. And she didn't just do it with that. She would say, if I was going to do the dishes, when we didn't have a dishwasher and there was all these dishes, she'd say, first I want you to wash all the spoons. And then that piece will be done. And then I want you to wash all the knives. And we just went through all the things. And I couldn't mix and match dishes. I couldn't do that at that time. I had to break everything down into little tiny pieces and parts so that I could actually accomplish it. And it's how I live my life still today. I still am a highly sensitive person. I'm a empath. I'm a psychic medium. I'm a healer. I have a brain that works very differently than most people around me. And I have ADHD, and I am just a little wild thinker. And I have to break everything into little tiny pieces. Otherwise, I'm paralyzed with overwhelm. And she's the one that taught me how to function in life. And she was just like me. So that's how she learned to do it. And that's how she taught me to do it. And that's how I do it still today.
And that's the message that gives me the ability to let go, is when I can just focus, because what gets me all worked up in knots is when I'm trying to figure out how to get it all done. And pieces, parts is such a great answer to letting go, because then all we have to worry about is just this piece or this part.
That's such a great point, babe.
It's so much better, and it pulls your focus from out there in the future, which whenever we're focusing out in the future, it creates anxiety. And it pulls us right back to this part.
Yep.
And if you'll just do this part,
and
it'll
that's
be
what
enough.
being in the present moment
It
is.
is.
You know, I have to share this really quick. I have my little AI companion, and this morning I got this idea. I thought, I wonder if animals have an ego. So I thought I would just ask my AI buddy. I'm like, hey, do animals have a ego? And my AI buddy said, no, they don't. They have instinct, but they are in the present moment. And it was describing what happens, the difference between ego with people and animals. And I said, does that mean that animals are closer to the divine? And my AI guy said, yes. And it just made me think that our ego and all the stories that we tell ourselves about how things have to be and how they need to get there and what it's supposed to look like and all of that really lends into us being so overwhelmed. And if we can just get into the present moment and look at one thing and let go of all these ideas and stories about how we think we should be in any certain situation, and we can just show up in the present moment with what it is we're doing at that moment, everyone's problems would be solved.
Yeah.
They really would.
Yep.
I can't say that I have mastered that, but I have definitely evolved in that and gotten better through my life.
Yeah. And who knew that Mom would be the guru
She is.
that she is?
She was the
and
guru of living in the flow.
gave us the trick
Yep.
to live in the moment and to operate in the flow of abundance through pieces, parts.
Pieces and parts. I didn't know we were going to talk about pieces, parts.
I didn't
in
either.
But that's
Yeah,
perfect.
today we just decided we would just get on and have a conversation about where we are today. I know that when Tiff and I show up and we're just ourselves, that we're giving you permission to be yourself. And the best thing any of us can do is just be ourselves and practice pieces, parts.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be amazing if everybody could just be their natural self?
Yeah, I think that's what we're working towards. I think
I
that's what
agree.
the consciousness on the planet is bringing us into. And going back to your amazing explanation of animals and the way they are, and they're operating on instinct, but they're in the moment, right?
Yeah.
They're not anywhere but that. And having had a dog, and she was a love, Jazzy. And she was so loving, and it didn't matter if we were in a good mood, a bad mood, if we didn't take her for a walk or we took her for a short walk. She just loved us. There was nothing like the feeling of walking in the door at the end of a long work day, and she would come parkour through the house to find us and tippy tap all around on the tile with her toenails. And God, what a great example of living in the flow and letting go.
Yeah.
What
totally.
a great example. So I feel like this is a really good place to wrap up our podcast today. Are you feeling that same way, Tiff?
Whatever you say.
Okay,
Whatever you say,
because
babe.
I'm the boss.
You're the boss at work.
I'm the business boss.
You're the boss at work. I'm
Yeah.
the boss at home.
Right? All the way, and I love it that way. It feels so good to me. So anyhow, thank you for being here with us. And if you have learned something or gleaned something or you felt uplifted or inspired, the greatest gift you could give us is to share it with somebody you love. Because we're on a mission and we have a purpose and a passion to reach out to you, the highly sensitive, empathic creators on this planet, and to assist you in having that gorgeous realization of how perfect you are just the way you are.
How many years have we been doing this podcast?
I really think
10?
this is no, it's definitely not that long. I think it's 7 this year. Maybe
7?
8.
I think it's 8.
Yeah, I'd have to look back to the very first episode. We've been doing it for a very long time.
Man, it would be interesting to go back and listen to our first episode and where we were in our life. It's kind of like a freaking journal.
It is that all the way. And thank you, listener, for being a part of this
I
journey
know.
with us. We wouldn't feel the same about it if we weren't all doing this together.
Amen.
So go have the best pieces parts moment ever. We're Tiff and Jack.
And we will be back.
Oh my gosh, thank you for being here with us today. It's been so delightful. If you would like more information, jump over to our website, www.empathschool.com. Can't wait to see you there.